we're off home today, and I am just going to get the car. Oh, whoops. Which means I need to cycle up the hill and then drive it back down, because there's no parking here. There's also no charging here, which means we're going to drive for about 40 minutes or something, half an hour, and then stop for lunch at the new supercharger I found on the way down. Ooh, goodness. Right, doing this with one hand might not be the best. Oh, wow, legs are feeling a bit stiff from running earlier. Ooh, hang on a minute. Yes, I have now done 6 months of running 5 kilometers every morning, and I'm feeling pretty good for it. There she is. Oh, you know, my legs are actually aching after that. It was, it's quite a hill you have to come up. So today, I wanted to talk about Starship, actually. I haven't talked about Starship for a while, and it is a subject that I am particularly keen on, because I think it will change the world. But first, I have to drive the car down the hill and fill it with all the bags. And V, of course. Right, so the front of the car is now full of stuff. Honestly, I don't know how I would survive without a frunk. And not just any frunk, it needs to be a big frunk. Yeah, so going up that hill definitely is just a lot more effort. My legs were really feeling it when I got to the top of the hill. And you know, I kind of think, personally, I think they should change the law and make electric, you know, pedal assist bikes go at, I think that the power should continue till at least 25 miles an hour, and honestly probably 30. And that's not because I'm some mad speed demon, although I am, but it's because I genuinely believe it's actually a little bit safer if you can keep up with the traffic more in town settings. Like at the moment I'm doing 26, 27 miles an hour, there's cars coming the other way, and the road is reasonably wide. A lot of cars, probably the majority of cars, would try and squeeze past a cyclist on this road, rather than sort of fully pulling onto the other side to go round them. If they were doing 30, I'm only doing 28 right now, so if a bicycle's doing a, you know, a fair old clip, then, you know, it doesn't irritate the cars, basically. Because it must be, well, it is annoying. I am a car driver, so I know it's annoying when cyclists are driving, you know, riding around slowly, and it's sort of psychological hold up, I suppose, more than a real one, but still, yeah, that's what I think anyway. Right, so we are now going to my new favourite supercharger at Flimwell, where we will zap quickly and then hopefully get on up the road back home, is the idea. And while we're supercharging, I will probably take a moment to talk a little bit about why I am actually really pleased that the SpaceX Starship has not launched yet. It's just constant delays and setbacks, and for some reason, for some very strange reason, considering I'm actually super keen on the project, I'm pleased it's been delayed. I've already got the CCS adapter out of the back of the car this time, so we can plug in that much quicker. It's one of the things I always love about superchargers, because there's so much less time messing around trying to like pay for charging. You get the charging underway a lot quicker. Now, we just need to wait for about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and then we can go home. Right, so if we left right now, we'd get home with minus 5% charge, which is obviously not going to work for us. So I reckon I want to put in about 25%, and then we should be golden. 25%, how long will that take? Okay, so at the moment we're charging at 57 kilowatts. because the battery's only about 45% charged, so it's still quite highly charged, and being an old battery, it does charge slower. Right, so I wanted to talk about SpaceX and Starship. And basically, I mean, if you remember, so the first time they sort of seriously looked like they might actually be able to launch a full stack at some sort of point, you know, a full Starship booster plus the Starship on top, I think that was probably, well, they started talking about it seriously in the middle of 2021, and by the end of 2021 it was looking like it might be quite soon. But the truth is, when you actually saw them sort of, you know, putting the vehicles together, it was a bit, how do I put it? It was a little bit janky, a little bit sort of not finished. And when you compare the quality of the booster and ship that they just stacked a couple of days ago and then destacked because they found some issues, it looks just visually like it's much, much closer to something that actually could successfully go to space and come back reusably. And that's really my point. I think the fact that they've had these delays is a facet of the fact that this is something that actually could work, and they know it could work, and so it is better to put an extra 3 months, 6 months, 12 months into refining the vehicle. That is more important to them than just having a go and making a big firework out of it. Now, don't get me wrong, the first one probably will be a big firework anyway, but what they really want, what they're really hoping for, is that it doesn't blow up on the pad. Because if it blows up on the pad, it'll set them back a year, you know, or maybe 2. That'd be a big setback. If it blows up, you know, 5 minutes in when it's at sort of 30-40 kilometers, it's not ideal, but I'm not even sure that would really be a setback. I mean, they're not actually expecting this booster and ship to be recoverable and reflyable. What they want to do is find out how much of the system they can get to work at the moment. And the closer, you know, if they can get it to the point where both the ship and the booster sort of softly touch down in the ocean, then, you know, fantastic. They'll be moving on with trying to catch things on the next attempt. But I mean, I think that's probably a bit unrealistic. But I'm very excited by the progress I've seen in terms of, you know, it is really starting to look like a properly realistic vehicle for getting people to orbit and back, which is amazing. Because I mean, out of like this sort of the big technological barriers that humanity has, you know, the things we're really working on at the moment, things like living sustainably on this planet, well, we're a very long way from solving that. Or, you know, AI. And the problem with AI is we don't even know how big the challenge is with creating a sort of a generally intelligent artificial system. It's because we've never done it before. So, and we don't really know how our own minds and brains work, you know, not fully. We know how bits of it work, but not how the whole thing sort of holistically gives rise to mind and general intelligence. So it's that's unlikely to, I mean, there could be some breakthrough and we'll have it sorted like next week, but equally it could take decades or centuries to solve this problem. The difference with getting to orbit reusably is that is also a massive engineering challenge, but it's an engineering challenge that we understand. And so we can do the maths and say, well, this should work. You know, if everything we design works as it is supposed to, then we can achieve this reusable craft to orbit. And it will fundamentally shift the horizons for our species in terms of what we can achieve, what sort of resources and materials we can utilize, and in a lot of ways it will solve the, you know, it'll help solve the first of those problems, the living sustainably, because it will give us access to vastly more, well, essentially functionally infinite amounts of power and resources. How you get those back down to Earth is another question, but having a reusable vehicle that can go to orbit and back is basically an essential if you want to make use of space as anything other than a scientific curio. Right, so that's that. I've waffled on now, and now it says we would get home with 0%, which means the truth is, if I left right this very second and drove carefully, I bet we'd get there. Probably with about 4 or 5% left over. But we're not going to do that. We're going to stay here for another, the car reckons it will take 20 minutes, so we'll give it the 20 minutes, and then we'll be heading off home. Look, full-leaf clover. Fantastic. That's good luck, isn't it? I'm just grabbing a coffee for the road, of course, because I do love a good coffee. And I just popped out the back of the sort of cafe, which is pretty cool. And look, it's gorgeous here. Hasn't this little glade got an amazing feel to it? Yeah, I mean, if I was going to be a betting man, I would say that probably they're not going to launch the first full stack Starship for at least another 3 months, I'd say. So we're probably talking about the beginning of next year, January, February time, I think. It could be sooner, but I bet it won't, because they're trying to do all the things they can on the pad before they sort of light the blue touch paper and run for the hills. And they want to try and make sure that it is as likely to get off the pad as is humanly possible. So they're doing all the sort of spin tests and the fueling tests and the ignition tests and the engine tests, and just test. And I expect that when they do try and launch the full stack, it's probably going to be a week or two of fueling it up and having a go, and then changing their mind and sending engineers in to fix something or change something, or swapping out an engine, or, you know, there's going to be a lot to do before they actually get to the point where this thing lifts off. And hopefully it's going to be reasonably successful. I mean, I don't expect it to, you know, be fully successful, but if it can get into orbit, that would be such a massive step. I mean, for one thing, if it gets into orbit, it will be the most powerful orbital class rocket ever. So yeah, that in itself would be a big thing. Right, anyway, the car is charged. Now we really must go, or we're going to get stuck in the rush hour. So, just get the car plugged in, charge it up to its usual I'm at home 70%. I hope you've enjoyed today's vlog post. If you have, remember to leave a like and share it, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already. The links are in the description. I want to say a massive thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. And I'll see you all in the next episode of my vlog. Bye.